Okay, several of you are still struggling with the idea of adding and subtracting numbers. So we're going to go back to this concept and try to learn it a little bit better. Try to get that sense of numbers going on. So, how do I add and subtract numbers is the essential question. I'm learning to perform addition and subtraction on numbers. So we've got a warm-up question. You have to distribute. You've got two actually. Can you pause the video and do the two warm-up questions now? I hope you tried. If you didn't, then we need to talk about why you're not understanding. So 2 times x and 2 times negative 4. 5 times x and 5 times 2. 2 times x is 2x. Minus 2 times 4 is 8. Equals 5 times x is 5x. Plus 5 times 2 is 10. Now we're ready to solve. We look at our variables. 2x is smaller than 5x, so I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I've eliminated it. Here, I'm left with negative x, or negative 8, is equal to 3x plus 10. I have to get the 3x by itself. The opposite is to subtract 10 from both sides. I've eliminated it there. Negative 8 plus negative 10, or negative 8 minus 10 more, is negative 18, is equal to 3x. Last step is to divide both sides by 3. Negative 6 is equal to x. Okay, so now, on the next one, I look in my parentheses and I realize that 2 and 6 are even. Multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. So if they're even, I know that I do not have to distribute it. I can simply divide by 2. 1/2 of 2x is 1x, plus 1/2 of 6 is 3, is equal to 3x minus 5. Just bring that part down. I want to move my smaller variable to the other side. X is smaller than 3x, so I subtract x from both sides. 3 is equal to 2x minus 5. Get the variable to the same side. Get the variable by itself. I've subtracted 5, so I will add 5 to both sides. Now, last step. 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 is equal to 2x. Last step is to divide both sides by 2. And 4 is equal to x. Hopefully, most of you are getting a whole lot better at solving these types of equations. So, as soon as we get the sense of numbers going, along with the sense of how to do things, you'll be able to do your math a whole lot better. So, let's look here. We're going to add and subtract numbers. The first thing we're going to start with are whole numbers. 123 minus 8. When we're doing this, step 1, you're going to start over here with your ones column. 3 minus 8. Well, I can't do that, so I've got to borrow 1 from the 2, and this becomes 13 minus 8. Or 13. Well, this is addition, not subtraction. Let's start this back over again. Erase it. We all make mistakes, so please forgive me. 3 plus 8 is 11. Put 1 down and carry 1 to my tens column. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 7 is 10. Put the 0 here and carry 1 to the 100 column. 1 plus 1 is 2. So 123 plus 78 is 201. Okay, on the next one, it's written, it's okay the way it's written, but we can't solve it that way. 809 minus 376. Remember, we are not using a calculator because we have to get that sense of numbers going on. Okay, in this one it is subtraction. 9 minus 6 is 3. So 0 minus 7 I can't do, which means I'm going to take 1 from my 8. I get 7 here. The middle number becomes 10. 10 minus 7 is 3 again. My 8 has been reduced to a 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. And we're done. So, as you're looking at adding and subtracting, if they're whole numbers, we might have to borrow from the next column, but that's okay, we can do it. What happens when they are decimals? Okay, so if I'm looking, these are opposite signs. This means I find their difference. 5.21 is bigger than 3.07. When you're doing this, get your column straight. Okay, I'm subtracting. I cannot subtract 7 from 1, so I have to borrow from my 2. This becomes 11. So, 11 minus 7 is 4. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring your decimal down. 5 minus 3 is 2. So the answer is 2.14. For the next one, the same thing is going on. We still have to set it up. It's very difficult to try to add this way, especially when one's positive and one's negative, because we know we have to find the difference. So if we set it up, 40.75 minus 32.50, keep your columns straight. Keep your decimals in line. If you keep everything straight, it makes your life so much easier. 5 minus 0 is 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. Bring your decimal down. Now I have to borrow because I cannot take 0 minus 2. So I'm going to borrow 1 from the 4. I have 3 here. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 3 minus 3 is 0, so that's been eliminated. Now, the 32.50 is less than 40.75, so I know that this is a positive number. Okay, for the next one, I've got a negative plus another negative. That means I combine them with addition. So I'm going to set them up with everything in the straight. So this is 77.43. This is 55.09. I'm adding them together. 3 plus 9 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 0 is 5. Bring the decimal down. 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. And we're done. But because these are all negatives, we know this has to be a negative 132.52. Now, one of the most difficult concepts is the fact that when you're adding and subtracting, you're going to look at the symbols. If they're the same and you're adding, you'll add them together. If they're different, then you have to find the difference. A lot of my students look at these two negatives and think, oh, negative and a negative gives me a positive. Well, that's true in multiplication, but not in addition or subtraction. Once again, I look at this, these are both negatives. So I'm starting at negative 124 and I'm moving down this way, 67 more. I'm going to add them together. Keep your column straight. 4 plus 7 is 11. Put down 1, carry 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. Bring the other one down. This has to be a negative because these are both negatives and I combine them with addition. So, we've gone through whole numbers, we've gone through decimals. Let's look at fractions. For fractions, find the common denominator and then add or subtract. So if I am looking at 5 and 8, 5 is a prime number, so the smallest common denominator will be 5 times 8. So I've got negative 4 over 5. It's equal to something over 40. What do I multiply 5 by to get 40? I multiply it by 8. So I have to do the same thing up above. 8 divided by 8 is 1. I'm actually multiplying by 1. So 4 times 8 is 32, and this will be a negative 32. Okay, negative 7 over 8 is equal to what over 40? Once again, I multiply by 5 to get 40 at the bottom. I multiply by 5 at the top. Negative 7 times 5 is negative 35. Okay, let's put it all together. Negative 32 over 40 minus 35 over 40 equals. Okay, they had the common denominator. I now can work with the numerator. Negative and another negative means that I am a negative minus number means I'm starting at negative 32. I'm going 35 more down this way. They're both the same symbol, so I add them together. 32 plus 35 gives me 67. And we're done. Any questions? Okay, for the next one, I've already found my greatest common factor, greatest common denominator. So I'm going to repeat the process. 9 over 5 is equal to what over 40? Well, I take 5 times 8 to get 40. 9 times 8 is 72. Okay, 5/8. Is equal to something over 40. I multiply by 5 to get 40, so I multiply by 5 on the top. 72/40. Okay, let's put it all together. 25/40. Let's put this all together. 72/40 minus 25/40 equals, it's going to be over 40. Now, 72 is greater than 25, so we know the answer will be positive. 72 minus 25. Okay, 2 minus 5 I can't do, so I'd borrow from the 7. This becomes 6, and this becomes 12. 12 minus 5 is 7. 6 minus 2 is 4. So this is 47/40. At this point, we're not going to change them into compound numbers. We'll just leave them as they are. Okay, for our fractions, our compound fractions, you have two choices. You can change them into improper fractions and work with it that way, or you can keep your column straight and think about what's going to happen. So, with the first one, we're adding, this is positive, this is negative. We notice that our denominators are the common denominators. So we know right away from here that this is going to be a negative number because your negative is bigger than the positive. 2/7 and 4/7. I know that they're the common denominator, so I can add them. Actually, I'll be finding the difference. I'll subtract them and I'll be okay. So 3 and 4/7 minus 1 and 2/7. They're opposite signs. I find their difference. 4/7 minus 2/7. 4 minus 2 is 2/7. 3 minus 1 is 2. So this is negative 2 and 2/7. Always, always think about your processes. Always look at what you have and think, is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative? Okay. For the last one, 7/8 and 1/2. Both of them are negative. I'm adding things together. So I can add -2 plus -1. And then I'll look at 7/8 plus 1/2. And these are both negative again. Okay, the first one's easy. -2 plus -1 gives me -3. This one not so easy because I have to find that common denominator. Okay, I know that 2 goes evenly into 8. So my common denominator is going to be 8. So -1/2 is equal to what over 8? Okay, what am I multiplying by? 2 times 4 is 8. So what do I do at the top? Multiply by 4 again. I'm multiplying by 1. -1 times 4 is -4. Let's put it all together. -7/8 plus -4/8 gives me -11/8. Okay, so far so good, but I've still got to go one more step. I've got to make negative 11 over 8 into a compound fraction. So if I'm looking at negative 11 over 8, it's equal to negative 8 over 8 plus negative 3 over 8. This is negative 1. So I've got negative 3. I'll be adding negative 1 to it. This becomes negative 4. I've still got the 3/8 left over. Negative 4 and 3/8. That's where that negative 1 comes from, because negative 8 divided by negative 8 is negative 1. That's where the 3/8 go that's left over. So, how do you know you're successful? You know you're successful when you can add and subtract numbers.